So we're very honored to have this event today, and it's co-host with Junior Dev, Women Who Code Singapore, and also us, AlphaCam. So we have three amazing speakers. They will share their great experience in building the community and how their experience joining and doing the community with each other. So let's welcome Michael, Saloni, and Victoria. You can give me some cheer ups, or I have some emojis in your chat. Yeah, hi.
Everybody.
Hello, hi everyone.
Yeah. Hi, so let's do the icebreaker first. Please use 3 emojis to describe yourself. You can type your emojis in the chat, and I'll go first. I put mermaid because I just do the open water diving last weekend. And tree for the nature, soap for the food. I'm the foodie. And I'm curious about what is a dragon means for Michael.
Oh yeah, I'm born in the year of the dragon, so that's why it's a dragon.
Yeah, year of dragon.
Yes, I wear glasses, so it's like dark glasses, dark rim glasses, and my favorite food is fried chicken. So yes.
Fried chicken. And how about Saloni? What's the dice?
Dice is actually board games. I love playing board games.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, my first one is being a technologist. I'm usually on my laptop doing some side project or the other. The second one is teaching. I live by the motto of teaching is the best way to learn. So I usually like to teach any new thing that I've learned. And board games.
Yeah, definitely. Teaching is a good way to learn. And how about Victoria?
Yeah, so my first emoji, I didn't expect it to be the same as Saloni's, but I guess we're both just really glued to our laptops. So yeah, that's my first one. And then next is video games, because I play a lot of video games and I enjoy it as a hobby. And then finally, third is tea, because I drink tea like every day. It's like my favorite beverage. So yeah.
Yeah,
very simple.
That's good. Yeah, I see many emojis. Oh, that's great. Like toast, hamburgers, and computers. So let's do another one. When you join an event, so you can type your answer 1, 2, 3 in the chat. Give me 1 if you want to enjoy the networking, and give me 2 if you just want to be alone and listen to the sharing, and give me 3 if you come for the food. But since we are the online event, you need to prepare your own food. Yeah, so I see a lot of 1. So people want to have great networking, then we will have the live session. You can, do the networking later. Okay. So let me briefly introduce AlphaCam. So I work in AlphaCam, and our mission is to help talents in Asia build meaningful careers in technology. You see, this is a great mission. So we cannot do only by ourselves. We only have few people in our company, and we want to have a community and also co-work with other communities that we can bring people the better life and help the world to be better. So we have 2 kinds of product in AlphaCam. One is bootcamp, and this, of course, just for people who want to break their career into technology. And we launched another new product last year, last December. It's called Rise. It's aimed for the riser, the people who already in the technology and as engineer or data analysis, data scientist, data engineer, and they want to level up and grow in their career. So that's for AlphaCam. And I like to briefly introduce the agenda today. So at first, we will have Saloni and Victoria introduce Women Who Code Singapore, how they lead the community and how they join the community at the beginning and their experience. And later on, we will have Michael. Michael will share how he set up a junior dev in Singapore and also how he keep this community actively for many years. And later on, we will have panel to answer 6 questions that we get before this event. And also we will have time to do some live Q&A. So people you want to networking is a great time. And in the last 5 minutes, I will wrap up. So let's welcome Saloni for the first sharing. I will give my screen for you.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I am Saloni, and I'm representing Women Who Code today for Power of Relationships. So today's agenda, as also mentioned, self-intro, introduction to Women Who Code, and volunteering with Women Who Code. So about me, I am Saloni, and my day job is a software developer at Wise, also known as TransferWise. It's a money transfer app. And on the side, I also am the co-director of Women Who Code Singapore. So Women Who Code Singapore, the name itself is pretty self-explanatory. It is a global organization for women who code, and not just code, but in technology as well. So we'll always begin our sessions with code of conduct. So Women Who Code is an inclusive community dedicated to providing an empowering experience for everyone who participates in or supports our community, regardless of gender, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, ability, physical appearance, body size, race, ethnicity, age, religion, socioeconomic status, caste, creed, political affiliation, or preferred programming languages. And that's our global email. And you can also find our full code of conduct. So let's begin with our mission. It is to empower diverse women to excel in technology careers. And our vision is to see a tech industry where diverse women and historically excluded people thrive at every level. Our values are to focus on the mission, design for inclusion, advocate for change, and journey forward. And we also have tracks within Women Who Code. Those are blockchain, cloud, data science, front-end, mobile, and Python. So these tracks will focus solely on these technical tracks. So all events and meetups are around the parent topic of Python, cloud, etc. We have about 70 plus local networks in 27 plus countries. So London, Bangalore in India, Delhi, Taipei, Tokyo, all of these have local networks, just like in Singapore. And we have about a whopping 343,000 members in 147 different countries. And for events, so this is a snapshot of Singapore's events, but globally, we have done up to 16,000 events to date, and it's about 2,000 events annually. Here you can see a snapshot of our Instagram page. So these are the events that we do in Singapore. We have a mentorship program coming up. You can find out about it in this IG post. We have Kafka-related public speaking, DevOps, CI/CD, and even IoT events every month around different topics. So that's where you can find us on IG, as well as Meetup and a few other socials. And because we are usually doing virtual events, all of our events are recorded and uploaded on YouTube. So you can actually find our past events on YouTube. Just look for Women Who Code Singapore, and you should be able to find all of our past videos. We even have Interview Ready series, which has been a very big hit among everyone till now. So let's move on to volunteering with Women Who Code. So volunteers are the heart of Women Who Code. And why would you join Women Who Code? So you can do incredible things for your community as well as your career. You support technologists in your area by supporting events and initiatives in the local network in the topics that matter to your community, as well as support your career by gaining leadership skills, making professional connections, and building your resume with hands-on experience. And many of our volunteers have directly named volunteering with Women Who Code as the key that unlocked jobs, promotions, and other opportunities. I myself and even the other leads in Women Who Code get pinged on LinkedIn very often because of our Women Who Code affiliation for speaking opportunities, for jobs, and just for collaborating with Women Who Code. So that's how you can build your network as well. And volunteers have the opportunity to be promoted to leads and evangelists. I'll be diving into that in a bit. And they can be graduated into directors or even full-time Women Who Code Global team members. So Women Who Code Global team is a profit organization. So you can actually work for Women Who Code. And 6 ways of volunteering would be work with a diverse volunteer team and collaborate with talented people. You can improve your tech skills. You can develop leadership skills through hands-on training. You can even develop project management and other valuable skills. You can be mentored by Women Who Code leaders, and with experience, you have the opportunity to mentor and lead others even. And you can gain recognition for your work at Women Who Code, which could lead to job promotions and other opportunities. Even though we have Women Who Code in our name, it does not mean this community is just for women. It is for all genders. So I have a story to share about one of our volunteers, Stephanie. She actually joined volunteering for Women Who Code in early 2020 in the Python track. And she was very shy and she usually stayed in the background. And the tasks were usually to work on social media graphics and the Zoom chat moderations for our events. And she joined the study group. We have a Python study group as well. And that helped her with confidence. And by mid-2021, she was actually doing presentations online with like 100+ attendees and teaching them Python programming. And she has met amazing people and friends along the way. And currently, she is a full-time Women Who Code team member. So that's her day job now. That's her over here. So yes, that's how it is. And we also have Women Who Code leaders. So if you do join Women Who Code global team, you get connection with senior level executives, receive press mentions, speaking opportunities, and mentoring. We have some volunteer roles in Singapore. I'll briefly just go through them. We have general volunteers. So everyone starts from here by helping with registrations, moderating events, supporting evangelists, and being a speaker. There are leads. Leads are organized events in the area of expertise. So in Singapore, we have software developer leads, IoT leads, project management leads, cybersecurity leads, DevOps leads. So they're all working on events around these topics. So every other month, you should be seeing one as well. And then we also have evangelists. So Victoria, our other speaker who's next after me, she's actually one of our Women Who Code evangelists. And they are responsible for spreading the word about Women Who Code, including social media, community outreach, and representing Women Who Code at events such as this one here. And then there's directors. That would be me. That's a photo of me and my co-director. We develop leadership. We help with career navigation, technical programs for our members in our cities. And we're also the direct point of contact from the global team. And yeah, with volunteering, you will have the opportunity to be promoted to these roles that we have. And so now you're here, what can you do next? So do help to attend our network events and introduce yourself to the leaders such as myself, Victoria, and whoever's organizing the event. You can learn about our network at womenwhocode.com/Singapore, and then do register as a member to get updates as soon as possible. You can follow our social media pages. We are at WW Singapore. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter. We have a new social media account in Showcase, but mainly our events are on Meetup page. I believe you'll get access to our slides in some time, so you can click on this link. You can check out our past and upcoming events. And you can also make a list of ideas and goals that you can help to bring to the table and share it with us, and then we can help make that a reality. So do sign up as a volunteer. And yep, then you can get in touch. And if you're interested in speaking, do email us at singapore@womenwhocode.com. If you have any questions, yeah, feel free to talk to us. With that, yeah, we'll meet at the Q&A session at the end. And I'll pass on the mic to Victoria. Victoria, thank you.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Saloni, for that sharing. Let me now share mine. So can everyone see my screen? Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, so hello everybody. My name is Victoria, and thanks Alpha Camp for inviting me to this session. I'm really honored to be speaking today. So yeah, just a little bit about me quickly. My name is Victoria. I'm a solutions engineer at PayPal. I'm also a technical blogger and writer, a GitHub star, a speaker, and a Women Who Code leader. So today I'm representing Women Who Code. That's why I'm wearing the Women Who Code shirt. Okay, yeah, so I have my own personal blog at low-victoria.com. So this is where I mostly write about web development topics and personal reflections about my journey in tech and a lot of various other tech related topics. So if you're curious, feel free to check it out. And I thought it's kind of boring if I just sit here, talk about my occupation. So I also include my hobbies here. So yeah, I like to play video games, and I like to read books as well as drink a lot of tea. So yeah, I have my tea next to me right now. Okay, so yeah, moving on to the agenda. So yep, I've just introduced about myself. So based on the occupations, all the things that I've done, you probably think I'm a very tech-oriented person, but actually I was from a finance background, so I didn't have a computer science degree. So the first thing I would like to share today is to share how I got into tech without a CS background. Next, I would like to talk more about my blog and how I built and engage with communities through that blog. And finally, I would like to share how I joined Women Who Code and why I joined, as well as some insights as a Women Who Code Singapore leader. So yeah, without further ado, let me quickly share about my journey into tech. So I think my journey into tech has 3 pillars. The first one is I want to build good habits when I first started. So building a solid foundation was a key thing into my learning when I first started into tech. The thing that I struggled with is that I didn't have a structured syllabus because I didn't attend any courses or any schools in order to learn what I needed to learn as a web developer. So I actually use free Codecamp. So this is a very good resource and it's free. They have tons of courses on web development topics. I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. This is just really my story. So yeah, free Codecamp was how I got I spent a lot of hours in them and gaining all the certificates. That took me about 5 to 6 months just to build on my foundation with a lot of theory, with a lot of practice. They have a lot of hands-on assignments as well, which they will mark for you and make sure you pass before you get the certification. So yeah, I did all that in 5 to 6 months. But after that, I felt like it's something that I'm just learning it by myself. So that's the limitation of free Codecamp. It's quite solo. But I think in a real tech job, you would have to learn how to collaborate and like work with other developers as well as version control. So that's why I decided to attend a lot of hackathons. And before then, it was pre-pandemic, but almost going into pandemic. So I actually went into a lot of physical as well as online hackathons. And through those experiences, I actually managed to adopt the just build it attitude where like, I don't care about mistakes. I don't care about how badly I am compared to other developers because I'm still learning. And I just continue building projects from scratch, learning how to collaborate with other developers and learning how to communicate it. I think hackathons teach me a lot about just being able to build without much of that worrying. And then finally, the third pillar that I would say launched me into tech industry is blogging. So I always believe that if you teach things to others, you will retain 90% of what you learn. So in comparison to just reading about tech or just watching videos about tech, I feel like if I teach it to myself and teach it to others, I would actually retain more, and that would help me just accelerate my learning more. So I started my blog with the primary objective to teach to myself and just to record my progress. And through that, my blog actually got a lot of readers, and that's how I became now a full-time side project technical blogger. Yeah, so even right now, it's been about 3 years, more than 3 years. I still continue to consistently blog for that reason. Yeah, so this is just a snippet of my journey into tech because due to lack of time. But if you want to know more, I can shamelessly plug my blog right here. You can read this article where I go into really in-depth, like all the things that I've done from my journey from a finance background to the tech industry. Yeah. Okay, so we just talked about my blogging in the previous slide. So blogging is how I really propel into tech. And I think a lot of that goes to because I built and engaged communities through my blogging. So I would like to share how I did that. So basically with my blog, this is the homepage of my blog. I made sure that I always provide quality content consistently. So I usually publish once a week. If I'm busy, maybe twice in a month. But even so, I made sure that every of my article is clear, structured, and easy to follow so that people who are even from non-tech backgrounds can follow along. Because I know that when I first started reading tech blogs just to educate myself as well, a lot of the blogs that I've read, maybe they skip some context, they skip some things that a beginner would not know how to follow. So I make sure, like, if I have technical articles, I have step-by-step, very easy to follow so that beginners can follow as well. Next, I created a safe space for communication. At the end of every article in my blog, I always put a snippet where I say, you know, if you have any questions, feel free to comment, feel free to reach out to me on my social media channels and everywhere, because I want to let my readers know that I'm available and that they can always ask me questions anytime, because there's no such thing as a bad question. I think when I first started learning, I'm scared to ask questions. I'm scared to seem stupid, like amateur. So that's why I didn't ask that many questions. But I wanted my blog to be a platform where people can safely ask questions without feeling judged or anything like that. So oftentimes when people ask me questions on my articles, I will check and I will respond immediately as soon as I see it. So yeah, I want to create that communication for them. And last but not least, I try to facilitate a supportive community culture in my blog, because I don't want my blog to just be like a place where I just write and teach and you just listen and absorb. I want it to be like a communication platform where we both can learn from each other. So oftentimes, like even readers, I would ask them for feedback from them, and they would also tell me like, oh, maybe this part you can elaborate more, or you can explain these steps clearer. And I think that's how I improve my writing over time as well, by learning from each other and learning from what my readers have to say. Also, a lot of times my readers would reach out to me, ask me, how do I do this? How do I start a blog? Or how do I integrate this technology that you talk about in your blog? And so I would give them advice and tips and also feedback if they ask for it. So yeah, I try to be more than just a person who's blogging. I want to be more approachable and like contribute to them that way. And so if someone tell me, hey, I actually published my first article thanks to you, or, you know, I started my blog thanks to you, I would like really like celebrate with them their achievements, congratulate them, and yeah, just help them be their support pillar if they need. Yeah, and so now let's go to how and why I joined Women Who Code. So when I first started blogging, I never knew that it could open up so many opportunities for me. Like all I wanted to do was just put my knowledge out there, share with people. So I started as a blogger, but without me realizing, that's actually creating my personal brand, because I established myself as somewhat of a person in tech and a person that's sharing their knowledge as a community contributor. Naturally, I got invited to speaking engagements. So for example, podcasts, and also boot camps. I also spoken at boot camps. So yeah, so slowly I got speaking opportunities. Then also I got freelancing opportunities, because companies actually look out for bloggers all the time to write for them for professional technical articles. So that's when I started freelancing as a technical writer as well. And then I got a job in tech, so as a solutions engineer within 1 year of starting my blog, because actually the recruiter found my blog and they say, hey, I saw your blog, it's really awesome, it's consistent, and it's got good quality. So it shows that you have good discipline, good work ethics. So I would like to invite you for an interview. So yeah, actually blogging opens up more doors than I could ever imagine at that time. And this is my most proudest recent achievement, is becoming a GitHub star. So this award means a lot to me because it shows that I'm on the right track as a community contributor. And I think this award is actually how I got into Women Who Code, because through GitHub Star, I actually connected with the staff engineer at GitHub, who is Yumin, and she's the software engineering track lead at Women Who Code. So that's how she invited me to join Women Who Code. And when she first invited me, I knew right away I want to join. Why? Because I always felt like as a blogger, as a speaker, I'm doing everything solo, like it's just by myself. So I wanted to work in a team where I can like make an impact with a team collaboratively, and also meet and connect with other inspiring women that would, you know, motivate me to make a bigger impact in the community. And also for Women Who Code, it's based in Singapore. So I feel like for blogging and speaking, it's always been online, and I never really felt like, am I really doing the right thing? Because like sometimes I don't feel that impact, you know, I don't feel like I'm providing enough value or like I'm contributing enough. But through Women Who Code, which is like based in Singapore, I feel like I can physically meet people face to face. And that's why I will be able to really have like a physical location that I can build my network and contribute to everyone, to the community. So that's one of the reasons why I joined Women Who Code. And it's been 3 months since I joined. Actually, I didn't join that long ago. I joined in February. But even in those 3 months, I have learned a lot as a Women Who Code leader. I get to meet and connect with inspiring women. So I'm not just talking about women as in our Women Who Code leaders. They're just as inspiring. But I'm also talking about our Women Who Code members, or like participants that participate in our events, because I think being able to listen to their stories, understanding where they came from and how they just become a part of tech is always very inspiring to me. Next is I learned about the diverse areas in tech. Because my day job is like a solutions engineer, I don't really like communicate with other people in tech, like in data science or AI. Like I rarely have the opportunity to talk to those people. But as a Woman Who Code leader, I get to meet people, I get to invite speakers from that areas, and I get to actually connect and learn about the areas in tech that I never knew about. So I think that's really awesome. Next is I get to organize events about tech. So I'm really passionate about tech and just really want to learn more about it. So being able to organize the events and bring it forward to like people and spread the message is really something I'm passionate about. So I really love that as a Woman Who Code leader. And finally, collaborating with our partners to make a difference. So for example, this event is a collaboration, Junior Dev, Alpha Camp, as well as Women Who Code. So I think these types of collaboration helps us to extend our network and just reach out and help make people be interested more in our message and everything. And of course, the list goes on. I don't want to sit here talk about everything, but it's really amazing experience so far, and I'm looking forward to more in the future. So yeah, if you're interested in volunteering, yeah, this is a repetition of what Saloni just did, but feel free to visit us on our website, and also feel free to follow us on our socials so you can know what we're up to, our latest events. So yeah, thank you so much. You can connect with me. I put my link tree right there. So it has my blog links, GitHub, LinkedIn, Twitter. So most of my social media channels, you can find me there. So yeah, thanks so much for letting me share. And I'll pass it over to Michael.
Thank you, Victoria. Okay, let me try and share my screen. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Hi everyone. So my name is Michael Cheng. So I'm a software engineer at GovTech. So yeah, this is my slides, and there's a link to the slides as well if you want to just follow along. You can just scan the QR code when we get there. Okay. Right. So first of all, I would like to talk about how I got started building communities in Singapore. So why did I start a meetup? So at the time when I started a meetup, it's like there were three things. Number one, I had a yearning for a support group, because back in the day, it was a rather lonely endeavor. Like I'm like kind of like the only software engineer in that startup or in that little digital agency I was working in. So the rest of them are designers. I'm surrounded by designers. I'm the only software engineer there. So yeah, so I felt like I needed some company. I needed to find people who were like-minded, who can kind of share knowledge with me. And the other thing that I also did was I wanted to learn. I would share from others, learn and share from others, because I want to learn from my peers, I want to learn from my guru. Very much like the open source ethos, the idea that the more you share, the more you gain back. The sum of the whole is greater than, so it's something along those lines. So yeah, I like to share. And the more it's like open source code, you can, yeah. So basically I was like, I want to learn from my group, my peers, because I really don't know whether I'm doing the right thing. So I really just want to know more from what other people in the team, in the society, or what other people in the industry were doing. Lastly, I want to build a network. So basically, I want to find leads, because I was working in a small startup. I was like trying to figure out who are friends I can get to know, find leads, find referrals to potential business contacts and whatnot. So I just want to build that network. So these are the three motivations there. So let's go into some story time. So I first started my first meetup in Singapore back in January of 2007. It was called the Singapore PHP User Group. It's not the first time that the PHP user group started in Singapore. It was like the third attempt, because there's a website that lists all the different user groups around the world. So I'm like the third. There were two others before me. I tried to contact them. They were not contactable. So I thought, what the hell? I'll just start one myself. So I started one meetup group on meetup.com. So I started the first meetup. It was more like a social thing, but it was like 5 to 6 people showed up for drinks. Yeah, and it was like, it wasn't much technology sharing. It was more like pouring their hearts out to me about the struggles they go through and stuff like that. So anyway, but we didn't have a meetup again for another 10 months, because every time I try to organize something, like zero signups. Maybe it's a platform, I don't know. Meetup.com at the time wasn't that well known. So yeah. So fast forward 10 months from there, Facebook at the time kind of launched their SDK to build games on their platform. There was a bit of increased interest in the use of PHP as a programming language. And one of the student groups in Singapore, he was called Entrepreneur 27, or E27, they're still around. They organized an unofficial Facebook developer garage, where like they get the people who are developing stuff on the SDK, Facebook pages, Facebook games, come out and kind of share a bit about that. So yeah, so it's like a student-led thing. Yeah, and there was a lot of people there who were interested in what this PHP is all about anyway. So when I was there, so what I did was I went and printed my name cards, and I just kind of like, hey, I just started this Facebook group. Would you like to join? Because at the time I already been active in the community. So this is us back in 2007, I think. So there were E27 had this thing called Unconference. Back then, it was kind of a cool thing to do. Yeah, there were students. So as a bit of background, E27 is started by a bunch of students who went for overseas exchange. They're part of the NUS Overseas College. They went to Silicon Valley, to many other places, and they came back and with this idea that a startup can change the world, right? So, so basically, yeah. So I was part of the group, and I was doing some blogging as well and podcasting at the time. So yeah, so I was in these groups. There were a lot of interesting people there. That's me in the background over there, small little guy sitting in the corner. That's me. So yeah, so I showed up at that meetup, and kind of like there were people showing off their SDK, Facebook SDK stuff, their games and whatnot. I kind of like asked permission from the organizers, because I knew them as personal friends. Like, hey, can I just do a shout out for my user group? They got me the mic, and I was like, hey, I'm Michael Cheng. I started this little user group called PHP User Group. I have my name cards. You can check out my Facebook group and kind of thing. And memberships have skyrocketed. A lot of people who were there. There was even this guy who was from Microsoft, who was like really keen on doing some open source things. He came up to me and kind of like got my name card and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. So yeah, so I felt like, hey, there seems to be a bit of interest. Let's try and create a meetup group, right? So let's try to create like a event. So I created a Facebook event to try and get people to sign up for gathering or some sorts. And so we got about 80 plus signups within a few days. And I was like, whoa, it's like, great. I have a good problem. I have signups, but I don't have a venue. I don't have speakers. What do I do? So again, because I was already quite active in the community, I knew a lot of people in the community through E27 and those other student groups. I was like, okay, there's this group there called Ruby Brigade. They're like the Ruby user group. And they kind of like do their meetups at a place called SMU, which is a local university. So I kind of called up, hey, could you refer me to someone who can like loan me a venue for my meetup? And then, yeah, sure. And they got me in touch with a lecturer who got me in touch with the Object-Oriented Programming Society in SMU at the time. And then they basically agreed to let me book a venue, and then they will host us. Great, awesome. So I have a meetup and I need to find speakers. What do I do? I kind of like, okay, I can speak because, you know, I'm the organizer, I should say something. So I kind of presented on like PHP 101, how do you get started? I was like, I need to also appeal to professionals, right? Because I'm doing something for beginners. I should also appeal to some PHP professionals. So I found a friend who could help me share about security in PHP. And I also want to try to attract the business types of folks. So I kind of like, okay, you know, maybe I look around, look for someone who is like like starting an open source business or something like that. And I found someone to talk a bit about open source use in businesses. So so three of us gave the talks on the day. And it was first meetup when about 50 over people showed up. It was overflowing. The room was too small for everyone. People sitting on the aisles and everything. It was like crazy town, but it was nice. So basically this is how it looked like. So this is everyone in the lecture hall and all that. And again, these are the three speakers. So they were talking about various topics. And one of the interesting things I had in my first few meetups, we had a lot of bloggers, because again, I was also in the community. I had a lot of blogger friends. We were part of this blogger network. And they were like basically live blogging my event while the event was going on. I was like, oh, wow. I have like 4 or 5 live bloggers going on at the same time, live blogging my meetups. And that kind of helped create some buzz around the event, right? So so again, a bit of reflection. I feel that it was my participation as an attendee in a lot of these other community events that kind of built a network of contacts that could help me start my own community. My own community building journey. Like Friends E27 basically had let me promote the PHP user group. My friends from Ruby Brigade basically introduced me to the first venue sponsor. And friends in the community like ping.sg, which is a blog aggregator, to help me promote the meetup events, right? And also I have friends who spoke at my event, like the guys, the guy in the middle, Chua Yuzin, he was my intern. Basically, he was an intern in my company when I was running my own startup. He went on after he graduated, he started his own companies, and right now he's in the crypto space. So he's kind of cool guy. So but awesome friends who will help share about the community and share about the stuff that we learn. And of course, from doing these events, and also from my attendance here, I also met up with a lot of sponsors, venue sponsors, food sponsors, which are kind of invaluable for helping run meetups. Like nowadays, when I run a meetup, I need to have a space. I need to have food sponsors. Usually and knowing some of these people as friends do help. And knowing someone who knows someone also can connect me to people who is kind of nice. So that's kind of thing. That's how I got started in this. Do a quick intro about Junior Dev Singapore. So Junior Dev Singapore was started quite a few years ago. Our mission was to basically be the leading support group and champion for junior developers in the Singapore tech industry. And our vision is for every junior developer, freshman software engineer, who will be empowered with the knowledge and skill needed for career progression and help their peers level up. So this is like the mission and vision of the user group. So the user group started, Junior Dev is actually a franchise. We started, the JuniorDev.io was started in Melbourne, Australia. So I found out about this through a friend of mine who was like tweeting the photo on his Twitter account. And I was like, hey, this looks like a cool idea. I kind of asked him, hey, could you connect me with the creators, founders there, so I can kind of like maybe bring the franchise to Singapore? And they agreed, and that's how I'm here. So the JuniorDev SG is a franchise of JuniorDev.io. It's a free thing. They don't really charge me any money, so kind of nice. And so far they have got a few franchises in New Zealand and this world. someone was trying to start it in Paris. There's one in Malaysia. So yeah, it's quite a few things. You can start one in Taiwan as well if you want. So, oh yeah. So the goal is to provide a safe space for junior devs to learn, and also to provide mentoring opportunities for developers, and also help each other level up, right? So into senior positions and even eventually take up lead positions. And through the 4 or 5 years I've been doing this, I have seen some junior developers come into our group. We mentor them, we train them, and we share our knowledge with them. And quite a few of them are now leaders in their organization, which is kind of nice. So 3 activities that we do a monthly meetup. We also have this thing called Developers Gym, which is like the developers come together and do coding on the weekend. So it's kind of like gymming, but with coding workshops. So anyway, and then we had a mentoring program. Yeah. So here's a photo of one of our meetups from quite some time ago. We do have a lot of women speakers as well. And we just did this recently on I think it was last week. We had this AMA with coding bootcamp graduates. We have a video. It's available online, so you can check it out as well. So yeah, so it's actually we had a couple of graduates who've gone through coding bootcamps. They've gone through a couple of years in their career. They're probably in their second job or so. And basically, I want them to talk about their experience. What was the secret of their success? So it's kind of interesting. So it's AMA videos is somewhere on engineers.sg. Go check it out, engineers.sg. Well, yeah. So Developers Gym is where we come together for two things like Coding Dojo. We also have a lot of people. Basically, Coding Dojo is you come together, work on a coding puzzle. So it's kind of like what we do. And we also have a mentoring program. So we started this mentoring program back in 2019. We have since then we have 4 batches. So pilot, batch 1, batch 2, batch 3, 4. So batch 1, batch 2, batch 3. 0 index kind of thing. So yeah. So so this is all the folks here. We did this in 2019, and we also did one quite recently that as you can see is quite a diverse group. So our mentoring program is more like a group mentoring. So it's like two mentors to 3 to 4 mentees, and we kind of come together in the same physical space so that we can do sharing. We do get some of our mentors come together to kind of brainstorm on some topics to share. And then once the sharing is done, they'll break out into their mentoring groups to kind of talk some more and stuff like that. So yeah, this is the most recent one that we had. It was in January to May. We just finished it last week as well. So yeah, so some of the folks that we had there, we also had AMAs with some of the mentors, so that at least it gives them opportunity to share. Yeah, and sometimes we also hang out for drinks and food and stuff. We like after the whole pandemic thing, we really do need more human contact. So this is kind of nice. Right. So that's junior dev. So now I'll talk a little bit about the benefits of being being part of a community, or participating in the community, right? So first up, I'll talk about 3 things. Number 1 is your benefit as an attendee, your benefit as an organizer and volunteer, and the third one is your benefit as a speaker. So there are a lot of interesting things you can do and gain from being in the community in these capacities. So as an attendee, so there's definitely opportunities to meet like-minded individuals like yourself, people with similar interests in tech. You can then compare notes and what the other folks in the industry doing? What are the problems that they're facing and how they're solving it. So it's that's an awesome opportunity to just learn from each other in the networking sessions that you have, and you can meet people, even have an opportunity to talk to the speakers, and they'll give you insights into how are they doing this, how are they doing that, right? And it's a support group. So basically, people.
Looks like there's a connection issue.
It's great that there's an opportunity to do this, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So in a way, you can meet people in hackathons. You can also besides that, also social gatherings. They're quite common. Social gatherings, more social. They're not just meeting people in the meetup situation. There are also sometimes parties that we organize and social things that we organize. One of the things I'll talk a bit about that later. There's another thing I organize. It's called geek brunch. It's like an opportunity to have brunch with geeks and geek out. And anyway, so I'll tell you about it when I get to that photo. So in the past, there also other groups in Singapore like SG Geek Girls, and there's when Ruby on Rails is hot, there was also like a Rails Girls in Singapore as well. So yeah, so it's all the social things. I realized that, oh, people like to go for meetups, they talk, but you know, they still want to talk some more. Sometimes after the meetup, they still go for drinks, have supper, or whatever, right? So like, hey, why don't we just have a thing where they gather and just geek out and just have social. And so I started this thing called Geek Brunch. So every time, this is the first one that we had. So it's kind of like after a friend of ours was running a podcast, and we kind of like, hey, you know, what would be cool that a bunch of us just hang out after the podcast recording. So that's what we did. And a lot of folks here are, this is back in, oh shit, I can't remember when was this? This is quite a while back. And this is one more recent ones before the pandemic. So yeah, so it's how big the thing has gotten. So we hang out in this place called Wheeler's Yard, which is like a bicycle cafe. It's like the only one that's big enough to hold the gathering, which is kind of cool. The last time we had this was in May last year. We'll probably be doing one more again sometime this year. I don't know. Let's see. But yeah, so that's what you can benefit from as an attendee. So you get to meet people and power network. So as a volunteer, next I'll talk about, well, your benefits as a volunteer and as an organizer. So in a way, as a volunteer and an organizer, you know, you get recognition as one of the influencers in the community, right? So because people look to you, oh, you're the person organizing this, how do I do this? Or, you know, stuff like that. You also get a network with speakers because, you know, you learn from them and you basically have an excuse to speak to them. So you can kind of like pick their brains about, oh, how was this done in your company? And oh, I'm facing this issue now. What do you think I should do? Kind of shit. So yeah, the kind of stuff you should do. Yeah, and as an organizer, you also get to shape the culture and conversations in your community. So if you want a community of friendly, happy people sharing a lot of ideas, be one, and you can definitely influence others in the same way. But I must qualify that it's actually quite a lot of hard work, because it really tests your ability as an event organizer. For me, I was like, events and organizing is like, oh God, there's like 101 things to do, right? What's the venue? Who's I'm very impressed with the organizers of this talk. They were like giving me a lot of notes to use. There are a lot of documents. Copy paste this into your LinkedIn. You're cool. Or use this link, this specific link for referral code. Like, okay, yeah. So yeah, and it's really, and you can see the hard work that they put in, and it's quite a successful. There's quite a lot of you hanging out in this meetup, so I guess it's all good. But yeah, but it's a lot of hard work, and it's actually also a function of how much hard work and effort you want to put in. And it's not always appreciated by people, but people do remember you because they say, oh, this is the guy who was speaking in front. So many years ago, I was speaking at a conference and I was talking about my experience building this other community called engineers.sg. Engineers actually is like it's a social community initiative I created to kind of record video recording on meetups. So I gave a talk about it at the meetup, and someone blogged about it and say, oh, this random AV guy, audio visual guy came up and just talked about his little idea. Like, okay, I mean, you don't know who I am, but okay, that's cool. But still, people do remember you, so yeah, it's a good thing. So yeah, in a way, it's also the last thing is you do good as an organizer. You're paying it forward. You're building a community, so yeah, so you know you get some good karma points and brownie points. Yeah, so but also what's interesting thing as for me as a technologist as well as an organizer is I get to meet awesome people. Like in my line of work, organizing meetups and conferences, I got to meet my hero, my technology hero, which is Rasmus Ledorf. He's the guy who created PHP. And for me back then, as a young developer, learning about PHP, building my own website and all that with PHP, and then building a career around this programming language, right? And to finally meet him in person and organize a conference where he can speak at the conference, it's like, wow. It's like how often do you get to see someone like that and do something like that? It's not very often. The other thing I did was also, because after as a technologist, I'm also a bit of a polyglot. So I don't just learn one language, I learn a few languages. So I also learned Ruby. So as I pick up Ruby, I also got to meet the creator of Ruby. And it was kind of cool. We came to Singapore for a conference. I was doing some volunteer work at the conference. And yeah, I got to meet him. So it's kind of cool. We just had the 20th, I think the 20th anniversary of WordPress. So this guy, Matt Monowak, So because people knew me as a community organizer of PHP, so when Matt Bernowek was making a around Asia tour, I was contacted by the person running the Automatic, which is a company that he created. He was running Automatic in Japan. He basically said, hey, you know, we need someone to organize a meetup or some meet and greet with the Singapore tech community who are into WordPress and PHP. And he contacted me and I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. Let's do this. I got in touch with the WordPress community, which were also, again, personal friends. We got him to come and speak to Singapore, and you know, we were able to host him, and it's all cool. So yeah, and there's so many other things I've done in the last 20 years I had in tech. So it's some of the different things that I've done, or at least a part of, as a speaker of, or whatever. So it's all some of the cool stuff. Of course, there's also Engineers SG, which is something I created as a community initiative. So we go to meetups, we record the meetups, and you can check out the videos on Engineers.sg. So the last thing, as a speaker, so as a speaker in this thing, you have the privilege of sharing your knowledge. And sometimes no subject is too small to share. That's why I try to encourage my junior developers who are, I find you have an interesting idea, or you have a very interesting story to tell. Please share it. And there's many times you're like, it's by discovering gems, by just talking to them at the meetup. Oh, you have an interesting story to tell. Tell me about it. Why don't you share this in the meetup? And you know, no matter how small it is, there will be someone who will benefit from just that little speck of knowledge you just shared. So yeah, so in a sense, it helps you build confidence in public speaking. In a way, you also get recognized eventually as a subject matter expert. So people do recognize you as, oh, you're expert in PHP. You do Ruby on Rails. That's pretty cool. Or you do Java or JavaScript. You know, that's kind of cool. So yeah, so you also demonstrate thought leadership. In a sense, you shape the thought thinking around certain technology ideas and whatnot. Of course, you do good. You build a community by just sharing your knowledge, right? So that's all very nice. So a little story time again. So because I speak a lot about PHP, and I was running my own PHP meetup, and I was giving talks in other places and helping out the community. Because of all this, there's recognition. And this is the startup which I joined back in 2010, and what I heard from the CEO, the founder of the company, was that I came highly recommended because the VC, the venture capitalist who was funding them, was telling them, go out and hire the best in the industry, hire Michael Cheng. He's like doing PHP. He's like the best one in the industry. Hire him. You see available, hire him. So it's like, wow, okay. That's how they got me to work for the company. And you know, you get to work with cool people, right? This company, unfortunately, it didn't do very well, or rather, it didn't survive 2 years. It was building a mobile app and all that stuff. But I got the opportunity to work with a lot of cool people. I got to travel to San Francisco. I got to travel there to work and to meet people. So it's kind of like opportunities and doors are just open for you, which is kind of cool. And through this, I also learned how to do iOS development. So I had to. Funny story, I was like doing PHP backend, all that stuff, right? And then suddenly my CEO sat me down, hey, our iOS guy is quitting, so I need someone to learn iOS, Objective-C. Are you up for the job? Okay, sure, why not? Let's do this. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. The other interesting story is back in 2016, when one of my community heroes, Chang Xiaoxiong, was like who was tapped on to start a digital transformation arm for Singapore Power. He was like, okay, let's get all the community folks that he knows and come together and build a powerhouse that can help Singapore Power transform digitally and basically provide a lot of nice new e-services that for our citizens, right, for our people in Singapore. So basically, because we basically put a bunch of folks into this little company. We were interviewed by Tech in Asia. They basically called us the Avengers of Singapore. It was like when Sao Zhong said, "Avengers Assemble," and we were all like, "Oh yeah, let's do this." It was kind of cool. We did a lot of IoT stuff, machine learning, and data science, and we also rebuilt the iOS app and mobile app for the company. So that was like some of the cool achievements that we did, lah. So yeah. So again, because I was also quite recognized, they were like, hey, Michael, you have to be part of this. You have to help bring in all the community folks and we can build this thing together. So it's kind of like nice that we have able to provide impact and create impact for the organization through the works that we do. So yeah, so as a speaker, you get recognized as a thought leader. At the same time, you also get an opportunity to do a lot of cool stuff, right? So yeah, that's all I have. Thoughts, questions, concerns? No? Okay. In any case, you can find me on socials. I'm on Twitter and Instagram, so you can add me there. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm sure the link is around there somewhere. But yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing.
Sorry, was I speaking too fast? Or
No, that's fine.
okay.
Let me back to the sharing. Yeah. So wow, these sharings all good. That I think that everyone can't wait to join Women Who Code or Junior Dev. And also, I'm very impressed by the stories shared by Victoria and Michael. And so that how you get started and enjoying the community. And also, I would like to introduce the community of AlphaCamp. Before that, there is a framework of a community. So we call it Space, and it's for to emphasize that every community may have different focus. So probably there have 5 more common focus: S for support, P for product feedback, A for acquisition, and C for content contribution, and E for engagement. It's just a quick remember for people to understand what's the focus for the community. So in AlphaCamp, I would like to demonstrate that the first example, we really want to build our community as a space to support each other, to answer questions or sharing knowledge. Like, for example, since people are joining AlphaCamp for learning, and online learning could be very lonely, just like Victoria starting her learning journey. But once you join AlphaCamp, we will help you. For example, there's an online study session. We already have 74 volunteers. They will volunteer and set a time for study together. And then people will join and share their learning topic or asking questions after their studies. We already have more than 1,000 sessions and more than 8,000 practitioners. And for the content and contribution, like after you learning, just like Michael and Victoria, they found their job in the community. That's a good opportunity. And also we have a similar support group for a career. You can opt in, and when you want to finding a job, so people can share information like job opening, interview tips, or the experience. And also they can review each other's resume and even do some mock interview. It's really valuable information when you are doing your job search. And the last example, we want to talk about engagement. So like you see a lot of photos sharing by Michael, and Saloni also share many photos. You see people join the community not just for career, not just for learning. We want to engage with other, and sometimes we can make friends. So we have a lot of investors help us to set up not just online event, but also local event, physical event. And they may have some sharing, talking about like career and more. They have shared some hobbies and common interests, like they would go to play badminton together. It's really good to get people and see people physically, and just like the feeling after a pandemic, Victoria see other people and join Women Who Code. So I want to summarize for these 3. We want to build a journey. When you start learning, we can support you online, and then let you have the motivation and keep learning. And then we can have a support group help you level up or you'll find your first job. And also we will have many events, just like today. We have 3 amazing leaders in communities share us and connect with each other. So I want to emphasize, like when you join, when you start your first learning and you enroll AlphaCamp, you probably be one person doing the learning, and you probably feel alone. But once you join AlphaCamp, we will connect you with each other and extend your professional network. And of course, we will have many events just like today and help you to get insight from industry leaders and community leaders. And I also like to say, it just like the beginning, we say we have an ambition, a mission, want to accomplish, but it cannot be accomplished if only just the staffs in AlphaCamp. So we will collaborate with other community and also investors. And also there are many people behind this magic to put few people profile here. But we want to lead to the final one is you just need to get started. Like Michael, he doesn't know how to build a meetup and he doesn't even have a speaker or a space, but he wants to contribute and want to know people, you want to learn. And just like Sunny and Victoria, you want to teach, and then actually while teaching, you can learn more for yourself. So everyone, you can just start it. And if you want to make the chance, just do it. It's no matter like how experienced you are or how senior you are, you can do that. So for these all, we introduced 3 amazing communities and sharing all the stories. I like to go through 6 questions before this meetup. We collect 6 questions. So let's do the panel. And for the first questions, this question comes from Wati, and he's asking about like being shy and introverts. And is there any tips? It feels very hard to just go and say hello. And you'll probably be amazing that 3 of our speakers are all introverts. So like, Michael, would you like to be the first one answer this question?
Yeah, I mean, don't look it, but I'm actually an introvert. So, yeah, so I think one of the things you should try to do is find a common friend, or maybe if you're really shy, go talk to the organizer. Ask the organizer, hey, I'm new here, would you be able to introduce me to people? So that'll be one way you can try to kind of like get a referral, because the organizer usually knows a fair bit about the people in the attendees, and they can probably introduce you to people who are of similar interests. Yeah, so and then maybe go just listen in to people, see what they're talking about, and if it's an topic that interests you, and just come in. So what we have in Junior Dev is a rule of the pack, we call it the Pac-Man.
Pac-Man.
The Pac-Man has like has a gap, right? So it's we call it the rule of the Pac-Man. So when you people come together and stand around in a circle, leave a gap. Deliberately leave a gap so that someone who is interested or hear something, they will just come into the gap and kind of like hear a bit more. So it's like the rule of the Pac-Man. So try that in your meetup, and maybe you can get more engagement somehow. Yeah,
that's great. How about Saloni? Would you like to give us some tips?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, this is right up like women who codes anywhere. A lot of especially women who join our group, they are very shy in the beginning. So what we have realized is having a monthly meetup, like a very unofficial, informal meetup via games night or just dinner, allows us to get to know each other a bit better, to know that yeah, we do talk on Telegram and on Slack, but we're not really scary people or anything. So that allows us to get to know each other on a more personal level. And then that's when a lot of conversations start going off on non-offline, like online channels. So that's something that you can try. So do join the groups via like the Google Forms and stuff. But if you're shy, do make an effort to at least join the board games night, or the brunch that Michael talked about. And that's when you can get to know like just 1 or 2 people first, and then it'll get a lot more easier to get started on this journey of yours.
Yeah, brunch is a good idea. And how about Victoria? Like you build your personal community by your blog.
Yeah, so as an introvert, I'm not the type to go and like approach people myself because I'm a bit shy. But I think what I did was, if I were at a networking event, because this is what the question is saying, I would look for like what Michael mentioned before, the Pac-Man, because I know there's like body language where people are clumping together in groups of 3 or 2, and it's called the closed group because you see no opening for you to walk in. So if I see someone who are in a group of 2, for example, it's hard to just go in because usually 2 people, they're like really talking to each other, very engaged. If you see a group of 3 or more people and they're like a bit more open, like Pac-Man, so you observe their body language, then I will be like, okay, I can just join in. And the thing about an introvert is that you don't have to be the loudest in the room. You just have to play to your strengths, which is listening. So you can be the listener of the group. So yeah, so I read this all from a book I read, The Introvert's Edge to Networking by Matthew Pollard. So after I wrote a book review about his book, actually he even reached out and connect with me on LinkedIn because he likes my review of his book. But yeah, I actually learned a lot from this book. So I'm recommending it to you guys. It's called The Introvert's Edge to Networking, by Matthew Pollard. So yeah, basically his book really taught me about just how to approach people and how to just play to our strengths as an introvert. So active listening and ask good questions. So like as you're listening, you can ask a good question and naturally that would spark the conversation. And also during networking event, try to not be too, how do I say, don't focus on too much on selling yourself just during the networking event, because I think a lot of people, they would forget you like after one session, right? Like you need to focus on building the connection. So maybe after the networking event, follow up with them, say, hey, I'm this person you met, like we talk about this, I would like to follow up for another discussion, maybe a coffee chat. So focus on building that connection, that relationship, instead of seeing it as a one-time thing. Yeah. And also a lot of practice is needed. So I really, it took me a long time to like be comfortable with like speaking to people, but I think being a good storyteller is one way to do so. So when you introduce yourself, the book says that people will remember you better if you tell a story about yourself. So what I did is when I approach people and all that, I can tell them a story, like how I got into tech or like how I started my blog. And I think that would get people remember me more. So those are some of the tips I have from like a personal point of experience.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So all the community have monthly events that welcome people to join, and you will see many introverts get started. So do more practice. So go to the next question. So this question from Tommy, and he's asking about how to initiate to tech for a beginner if you want to jumpstart a domestic or overseas supportive. How about like Michael, since you started a community in Singapore, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I think go find some network, or rather meetup. Go find a meetup you can attend. Basically go play to your strengths, figure out what are the like say if you're doing front-end development or back-end development or particular programming language or particular technology, find a meetup in your town or in your city that is of that, and then go for it. Attend it, or even another way you can do that is, as I said, as a speaker or as a volunteer, right? So either I go as an attendee, go listen in to what people are saying. If you really like the vibe of the group there, even offer to be a volunteer. Because as a volunteer, you have an excuse to talk to people, and then of course with that you can definitely build a network. Even a simple thing as signing them into the meetup, or what's your name? Oh, Michael. Okay, Ken. Hi, Michael. That kind of thing. And perhaps even as a speaker, if you find that you have a, as I say in my presentation, if as a speaker you do get recognized as a thought leader, as a subject matter expert, so that's a very good way of building a network.
Yes, definitely. And how about Victoria?
So me, I'm like at a much smaller scale than Michael, because I don't build like that level. But yeah, I think for me is I did a lot of constant publishing. So basically I put out content very consistently, so that way my audience, they know when to expect when's the next content coming. I think that will slowly build just a following, like a greater support, because people want to read content from you, people want to try to learn more from you. So I think that's what I did. Of course, I think what all Michael says is like the best advice. So for me, it's just more like if you want to start something more personal, more solo kind of community, and then you can do something like that. So putting out the content consistently.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. That it's like a very interesting dynamic from like when I was doing meetups. It's like before pre-pandemic, right? And for Victoria, when she got into this, she was like during pandemic times, so a bit harder to get face-to-face contact and to meet people during the pandemic. And yeah, so I really applaud her for being able to continue to be able to do this during those tough period. Actually, yeah, creating content is very interesting. You can do video, blogs, blogging, and some people even use like Twitch to kind of like do live coding, which is still kind of cool. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And how about Saloni? Since you are the connect with the global women who code, do you have any tips?
No, actually, Michael and Victoria have said most of the good ones. But at least for like Women Who Code, we do try to do one thing, which is collaborate with other communities, where we try to tap on their network as well. So maybe that's something that can be looked into as well.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Community usually will work with each other, as you can see, like from the speakers, they mention not just their community, they also mention like Free Code Camp and Singapore Ruby girls. Yeah. So let's go to the next one. I think many people would have this question, like how can we develop our professional network before getting the first job? So yeah, how about Michael and Saloni, would you like to share your experience before pandemic, and then Victoria can share some in the pandemic? Saloni, would you want to continue?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I just know of people in Women Who Code. We have a lot of undergraduates currently as members of Women Who Code, and Women Who Code also collaborates with universities. So we provide them with mock interview sessions where two of us would be mock interviewing software development, data science, and front-end development interviews, so that the students can see how to reply, what to prepare for, what are the kinds of rounds that are there. So definitely look out for such sessions in your university level already. And then again, communities like Junior Dev, it's not too early to join these. I feel like you don't have to be a Junior Dev first and then join such things. Same for Women Who Code, the other tech ladies, girls in tech communities. Join it, get involved with the community, help them with organizing events, learn from those events, and then that's how you get to network a little bit with the professionals who are working in like the bigger companies, the startups. Yeah, that's how I feel. At least this is more pre-pandemic level. During pandemic, it's a bit harder to be doing this online. Yep.
Yeah, but just get started. So like, how about Michael?
Yeah, like what Saloni said, come for Junior Dev meetup. But in seriousness, we do get a lot of bootcamp graduates or bootcamp students who come for our meetups, and it's a good opportunity to kind of like meet people. And it's interesting that we also organize events at companies who may or may not be hiring. And sometimes it's a good opportunity for them to also get to know some recruiters who are working in those companies. In our meetups, we also see some recruiters who come hang out and kind of like look out for students or graduates who are looking for jobs. So it's also an interesting place. I mean, I'm definitely not pushing them away, but I think recruiters are also part of the community, and then they're trying to do the job they're trying to do is also quite interesting to help people. So I hope that they can find meaningful connections through the meetups. So definitely going for meetups, searching online, go check on meetup.com and find all the different tech meetups that might be interesting, and maybe look for something that's newbie friendly. Nothing you can try is to maybe participate in open source. Like sometimes you build something, or you need a library and you realize, oh, there's a bug in there. Just communicate with the library creators through their GitHub page and file an issue, and then you realize, hey, you know, this issue is actually quite straightforward. We can sometimes guide you to how to solve it or something like that. So that could be an interesting approach, taking part in community projects. Hackathons, something is also would be nice to go. I think Victoria also mentioned about hackathons. It's actually a very good opportunity to network with people, to meet people who are either starting out or maybe who are very experienced, right? So, or even find mentoring programs out there that could be helpful to help you get connected with people. So I think this is some of the advice I have.
Yeah, definitely. So contribute and learn how to co-work with people, then people will want to co-work with you. So how about Victoria? Would you like to add on some tips or experience in pandemic?
I guess I can, but I think Michael and Saloni already like amazingly covered everything. I was going to mention about hackathon and Michael mentioned it, so it's okay, Michael. But yeah, I think for me is my story is a little bit different, right? Because before getting the first job, I was actually blogging a lot. So I think what I did is I developed my personal brand and online presence. So by being visible online, people actually find out about me, and that's already kind of like my tech portfolio. I think a lot of people who are just starting out, they really focus on, I have to build my portfolio, I have to build projects, I have to create my own personal website, like, and then with my resume on it. I think a lot of people stress about it. But for me, I just do things naturally. Like I naturally attend hackathons and those projects become part of my portfolio. And then I naturally keep blogging. I naturally share my knowledge like so consistently. And that becomes also part of my portfolio. So naturally everything becomes like my digital portfolio, like my blog becomes my brand. And that's how I actually landed my first job, because people discover me through my blog, and even for freelancing opportunities, speaking opportunities, or even my current day job. So yeah, mine's a bit different, but yeah, I'll say go with whatever Michael and Saloni say, because they're right. They're always all right. Yeah, for me, I'm just like, it was just during the pandemic time, so may not always apply. Yeah, but I would say if you're passionate about creating content and like blogging or starting a podcast or anything to be visible online and to build communities, I think that's always a good way to just naturally have that networking, that connection with people. Yeah.
Yes.
May I just add as well? It's not just, you don't need to do it alone. Sometimes it's just about finding a couple of classmates or course mates. Like if you're going through a coding bootcamp, get a couple of your course mates that you might be interested in the same thing. And do it together, do a podcast together or something like that. So that could be, you don't have to do it alone, basically.
Yeah, just start it small.
Yep. And I can also add to that. So like if you are doing it in a group, just make sure that everyone's really on the same page and everyone can commit the same amount of time. Because I've tried before, maybe was thinking to start like a podcast or something. It's really hard to get everyone on the same page because everyone have different time commitments and all that. Yeah. So make sure that your friends and you are really like putting this as a priority so that you can grow the podcast together.
Yeah, definitely. There's some hard work, but once you willing to do that and bring the principle to do that, people will see. Yeah, so next question. So as a woman trying to break into the tech field, like how Women Who Code would support. Saloni already mentioned that Women Who Code has a mentorship program. Would you like to explain more?
Yep, sure. So this year we're actually collaborating with Tech Ladies. Tech Ladies is another women-led community program, tech community program. They usually have these mentorship sessions, and this year we're having it together from August to October. And you can find out more information about it on our Instagram or on our different socials. So we'll also be linking it in the Zoom chat in some time. And yeah, besides mentorship, mentorship programs, every time a new woman or member does join Women of Code, the directors, me and my good friend Toshal, we actually personally message our members to find out a bit more about them, like how do they want to contribute and how can we help in any obstacles that they're facing. And we do that regularly in like a few months just to ensure all of our members are getting what they want from the community, and we are also helping to provide what they came to look for. So yeah, and maybe Victoria can add your 2 cents as well.
Yeah, so I pretty much echo what Saloni mentioned. Also, another way we can support is we have a lot of like those events where, like, for example, we're having our public speaking workshop right now. It's ongoing. So it's every Saturday, like people can come in and just learn and practice their public speaking. So I think all those things are actually, it goes hand in hand, like being able to network at the same time, being able to level up your skills. So Women Who Code can provide a lot of that to you. And plus we are a team of really like nice people. So we're approachable. They can always like contact us if like they're scared like about the event beforehand. They can contact us first, say, you know, ask how is it like, or any questions or concerns they have. So yeah.
Wow, that's very supportive. And how about Michael, would you like to add on the mentorship you mentioned in your slide?
Oh yeah, so the mentoring that we do, I think because we've been doing our meetups, we realize that there are also people who have very genuine needs that we really can't address during our meetups. Because the meetup, they're only there for like 2 hours. There's only so much we can share, and then there's really hardly any opportunity for us to do follow up. You know, like if someone really needs help, really, this 2 hours really just not enough. So we felt we needed something a bit deeper. We need to go deeper into like help them with the problems that they're facing. Because being in tech, or for example, if this is your first tech career, you're working with a lot of tech people who may have a very different way of behaving. So you really do want to get them prepared. So that's why we started this mentoring program as a way of like helping, providing help where it's needed. So in our mentoring group, we do ask people to like, you know, to vote on topics of interest. So what we did this time around was like we have basically a board where they kind of like post-its and kind of like say, okay, I'd like to learn about this, I'll learn about that. And we try to cater like sharing sessions during each of the mentoring session. Our mentoring is actually in the physical space, so all together in one room. So it gives us an opportunity for the mentors to craft put together some sharing content, or even some workshops that the mentees that can kind of get involved with. So yeah, so that's definitely a support group, and it's helpful to in folks in their career. So yeah, so look for a mentoring program if you have one in your neighborhood or in your country. Go for that and then try to get to know more people. I think it's better if it's in person. We did try to like start up the mentoring thing during the pandemic as a virtual thing, but the impact isn't as great as we expected, because there's really lacks that physical having a physical contact does help a lot. So we find that that's why we kind of paused it for about a year or two, just so that we can kind of make sure that we get to a place where we can do this more effectively. So yeah, so find something that is a mentoring program that best if it's in person. Well, there are also people who do like one-to-one. So I do have in the past set up like a calendar that got people to do one-on-ones with me. I can do like pair programming. I spend 2 hours with them doing some pair programming with them, teaching them what it is to do test-driven development and stuff like that. So there are times I do that deep. There are also times I just do spend half an hour with you. Tell me what you think. I'll just share a bit. I'll tell you what I think, and yeah. So I have done such various things like that. So if you find someone which you admire or you look up to in the industry, talk to them and maybe get an hour of their time, treat them to lunch or dinner, and then just pick their brain, ask them about things. So it's best you come prepared. You come prepared with what list of questions and just ask them, and then they can definitely be more targeted in helping you. But yeah, so it's all the suggestions I can think of.
Yeah, that's awesome. So since we have local chapters, yeah, definitely you can sign up for the mentorship Women Who Code or junior dev. There's different formats and you can get all the support. So yeah, another one come from Angus. So how to maintain the enthusiasm of operating the community? I guess you already see why Michael can still doing this for like more than 20 years. Yeah.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah, I think it's about figuring out that you're still able to contribute and able to create impact. There are times, so that I do try to follow up with people who I talk to and share about various things. Some of them are still personal friends. We do chat once in a while. There was this guy that I kind of like met at the junior dev meetups. He was like telling me about how he struggles with getting advice or talking to his seniors, because he's working in a startup and his seniors were all very busy. It's almost impossible to get their senior to help them. So I kind of told him, hey, why don't you try this? You know that they're very busy people. Help them manage their time by preparing yourself, preparing the things you ask, and then scheduling a one-on-one time with them. And then when you do that, tell them what you attempted, and then ask them for whatever. So basically, you help your senior devs in your team manage your time by managing their disruptions. Because if you just go up to them, ask them, they'll be very, I'm in the middle of something. So help them manage your time and manage your disruptions. I gave him this advice, and like after like 2 months, I kind of asked, I found him, met him in a meetup again. So how was that advice I gave you? Did that? I actually didn't ask him, but he just came out to me and volunteered that, hey, the advice he gave me that time really helped. And he was able to like get really some quality time with his seniors, able to help him with his problems. So it's like you can see the direct impact on what you can do, and then you also get a lot of positive feedback from because we do, like in our mentoring program, we do have a feedback form where we get feedback from everyone, ask them what they have learned, what are the things, what are the key points, key takeaways from those things. Even in our meetup group, we do have a feedback form where we ask for feedback. Sometimes I'm very encouraged to see, oh wow, the people are actually learning the topics that we share. We curate the content. And we are very thankful that the content we created has impact and has provided value for the people who are there. So in seeing the impact of your work that you do directly or indirectly, you do get a sense of excitement, and it gets me going. Like I continue to provide impact and provide value for the community. Paying it forward, helping the next person, filling gaps in the industry. So it's like, that's just me. So
yeah, that's cool. Then Saloni, would you like to add on like how to keep you motivate and contribute to the community?
Yeah, for me, being a woman in tech, actually even daily in my workplaces that I've been a part of, I'm usually like the only woman in the room and only woman in the team. So that is itself a very good motivation for me to help other women excel in tech and create more events, more skills giving workshops for them. So yeah, that keeps me going. Mainly my passion for getting more women involved in tech and excel in tech. But otherwise, I think a really good volunteer group. Like I like to work with the people I'm working with in the volunteer group. Like Victoria, there is my co-director. So they are a fun bunch, and they are very non-judgmental and nice to work with. So just doing it on the side with them, it's a nice passion of mine.
Yeah, that's cool. We really want to encourage more women join technology. Victoria, would you like to add on more, or I will go to the next question?
Maybe I can quickly echo what Saloni mentioned. Like, I think what keeps me going is really being able to surround myself with people who are just as passionate as me and like contributing to the community. So people like Michael, like Saloni, like they're all really passionate in like spreading the positive impact and providing value. I think that makes me even more motivated and wants me to also give back to the community, because back when I was like studying by myself, I wish I had found that community. So now it's my turn to be that support for people.
Yeah, that's true. Join the community, then you will meet other like-minded people, and that will keep you happy. So you want to do more.
Yeah.
And the final question comes from Ariel. So probably you may have this kind of situation. So how can I reach out to people I don't know, but I want to connect with him or she on LinkedIn or Twitter, or even I want to invite them as a speaker for the event, or just want to connect with them and have some casual chat with. So how about Michael, would you like to share us, like in your story, you already like reach out many people or being reached out?
Let's see. To invite them as speakers. So when I was looking for speaker for my conference, the PHP Conference Asia, I was like, oh, we need to get the most famous speaker to speak. But how do I find him? I'm wondering. So I Google online and kind of like, oh, do you have, where can I find the resume or homepage of Rasmus Ledorf, the creator of PHP, right? So somehow I found his homepage, and from his homepage I found his resume, and from his resume I found his personal email. I was like, okay, that sounds cool. And I emailed him, and there was, and I was, to my surprise, he replied almost like immediately, and he kind of like, hey, you know, I'm interested. Let me know what what he can do. Like, wow, he's willing to come fly to Asia to speak at my conference. That's like very cool. So yeah, cold emailing is possible, but usually it ends up in spam. So your mileage may vary. Sometimes it's about finding referrals, finding someone who already knows that person. So I think from your LinkedIn network, or even from someone or who you personally know, and can ask them, hey, do you know who I can talk to about, or do you know this guy who I can talk to about something? Sometimes it helps that you already have some some questions in mind to ask them, and they can tell, because it's like I've done my part as well in connecting people. It's like I've been approached by a friend and say, hey, I want to get in touch with this so and so on LinkedIn. Like, okay, I'll try my best. But tell me your spin. What do you want to tell? What's the question, right? So at least like when I say it, he at least will be more receptive or not. So yeah, so that's usually finding someone who is like a second or third degree removed from that person might be helpful, or even yeah. So, and then sometimes just through your network, like I was there's folks in the call who know who Kent Beck is. Kent Beck. Okay, he's the guy who created extreme programming. He wrote a book on extreme programming, and he wrote a book on extreme programming, and he coined the term test-driven development. So I was a part of Engineers SG. I was like, I was recording the conference for one of the conferences where he was speaking in. He was coming to Singapore to speak, and as part of his engagement in Singapore, he had a few days where he could like do stuff. So he kind of like tweeted on his Twitter and say, hey, I'm available for engagements when I'm in Singapore. And basically I reached, of course, because I know I was recording the conference that he was speaking in, and I kind of like emailed, or rather I basically messaged the organizer of the conference, hey, could you get me in touch with Ken Beck so that I could try and get him to speak at my company, because my company, GovTech, we really respect him as a software engineer.
Yeah.
So he got me in contact with Ken Beck. We managed to come to an arrangement, and administratively we figured out how to pay him. And yeah, we got it sorted in like less than a week, which is amazing in GovTech. In government timing, it was like amazing. We managed to sort out all the legal stuff. We was able to pay him. He could come for like half a day and then share about his knowledge and stuff like that. So and yeah, it's all because I knew someone who knew him, and somehow I got connected. So yeah, so that's so find people who know people, and yeah.
Yes. And Victoria, would you like to add on like be prepared?
Yeah, sure. So I think Michael answered the part about using referrals, whereas for me, I had to organize an event for women who code where I don't have a referral. So I just have to contact them via Twitter. So I was recruiting speakers for a software engineering panel discussion, and I found this Twitter tech influencer who's really active on Twitter. She got over 30,000 followers. And I wanted to reach out to her, right? Because I want her to speak for this event. So I was thinking a lot, how do I reach out? Because again, like what Michael said, cold calls that would probably like be ignored and all that. So first, what I did is I tried to research a lot about what she did. So like I look over her materials and content and also what she has done in the past. And I have deep respect for what she did. And when I reach out to her, I actually wrote her like a message like, you know, I really like this part of your story, this part of your content. I really like all this. And that really makes her feel like, oh, I've done my research. And like I gave her a very personalized, sincere invitation, because it's her that I want. Like, it's not just anybody else. I want her to be the speaker. So I'm inviting her because it's her. And so I think that's how I managed to invite her through Twitter, actually. So that's the first part of the question. The second part is connecting with people for professional networking purposes. So I think I get a lot of LinkedIn connection requests, but usually when random people like just ask to connect, I wouldn't know who they are. And if we don't have any mutual connections, it'll be difficult for me to just accept them. I usually would accept people if they write a simple short message like, hi, Victoria, I discovered you from, you know, some speaking session or some blog article, and I want to connect with you. So just a simple message like that, it would definitely make me press the connect button, and I would definitely want to chat with you and connect with you. So I think if you want to reach out to people, at least show that you want to get to know them, and like, you know, like you've done your research, and yeah, so you can be like more sincere when approaching them. Yeah, that's one of the tips that I can give.
Yeah, definitely should be prepared. So now we still have some time, and we'd like to go to the, we'd like to go to the online version for the live Q&A. Oops, no, this one, okay. So there's two questions. In addition to the continuous improvement of professional skills, what part of the career should we pay attention to? Okay, then Saloni, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, I was just thinking what it actually means, like continuous improvement of in professional skills.
Yeah, actually, so if you join community, there's already many like leadership skills, how to collaborate with others. What else, like the common professional skills, would you think would be benefit for the being like engineer or a data scientist?
Yeah, actually one thing that I really advocate for, especially in these times, with like the recent firing sprees going on, is being interview ready. So yeah, we as the working class, we are actually at the mercy of companies that we are working for, so we can be fired anytime. That's how it's going on nowadays. So I actually encourage my community, my friends, to always be interview ready. And how do you do that is basically, I personally have two other friends. Weekly we'll meet up, we'll do some lead code questions. I'm a software developer, so we do lead code questions together. Just randomly test each other on certain topics. We also do tech interviews with each other, like just looking at each other's resumes and asking random questions on like pros and cons of certain things of the resume. That's I think it's a very good other skill that we should have on the side, besides, you know, being a good programmer or being a good product manager or things like that.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, probably we can go on for the next question. I think this question is for Victoria, very obviously. Like, how does your blog reach wider readerships, like promoting your content or other platform?
Yep. So I use this technique called syndicating. So syndicating basically means like you're publishing to various blogging platforms and publishing platforms like Medium, Dev2, Hashnote, all those. but make sure that you have your canonical link still back to your personal website so that it doesn't ruin the SEO. So the Google won't detect it as a duplicate content. So usually I would publish like my main, like the canonical link, the original link at my personal blog, low-victoria.com. And then after that, I would syndicate that to Medium. I have a Medium platform, and then I'll syndicate that to Dev2 and various other blogging platforms that's around. So that's how my blog can reach more people. And every time I have a backlink, like on my blog, it would go back, like, for example, my backlink in my Medium blog, it would go back to my personal blog. So every time when people discover me through Medium or through like big blogging platforms, they would go back and find my personal blog. So all the traffic would eventually goes back to my personal blog, so that people would now just type directly the URL, my personal blog, instead of Medium and all that. Medium is just for reach and all that, like the other blogging platforms just for reach. Yeah, and also what I did is SEO. So I tried to optimize search engine using keywords, using hashtags, using good tagging. And then I also promote my blog a lot on social media. So on Twitter, LinkedIn also sometimes. So yeah, I would say I don't like go so crazy about it, because sometimes I let organic traffic or like word of mouth spread it. But I think in the beginning I do more of that, like more aggressively promoting through social media. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's very smart to do the SEO and backlink things.
Yeah, actually, I took a quick course on Google Analytics, so I got the Google
Oh,
Analytics certification. Yeah, because I want to know how Google optimized like their algorithms and all that. So I took a quick course. They have a free course. If you type Google Analytics certification, you can get a free certification as well. So yeah, that's how I learned about like how to optimize SEO, how to make sure your page is structured well. Because actually Google indexing, they also pay attention to how well your article is structured. So if your article doesn't have headers, like they don't detect H1 headers or H2 headers, they can also penalize you for it, and then your article won't be at the top of the search engine page. So yeah, there's a lot I can like go on forever, but for that's like my answer. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. There's a lot of knowledge. So yeah, so go on the next one. How to grow my network as someone that is coming from overseas to Singapore, okay, and looking for a job for data scientists and machine learning. Michael, would you like to answer this question?
There are definitely meetups you can attend. There's one called Data Science Singapore, Data Science.sg. That they actually organize a monthly meetup. So you should figure out who the folks in there. I think that's probably the main one. Pre-pandemic, there were a couple other tech meetups in the machine learning space.
Yeah.
There was a TensorFlow meetup that was there before. There's a Python meetup, because I think most data engineers use Python. So you should check out those meetups on meetup.com, and maybe go hang out in those places and meet people there. There's probably, you can definitely ask them more directed questions about the industry, what are the jobs that are available. I think you should also try checking on LinkedIn, like what are the different jobs available. I mean, that's also a way to figure out what's there. I also, you can also check out Glassdoor. I think Glassdoor probably has a couple of Singapore-based sites that are there. So yeah, there are definitely places you can hang out. And perhaps come for Junior Dev, so I can probably introduce you to some people.
Yes.
We're looking for speakers. We're looking for speakers. You can reach out.
Yeah, definitely. And or you can just create a meetup. That's how DVT local Singapore set up. So the next question, as a community organizer, what has been the most challenging things you have been? Oh, wow. I think this one will still go for Michael, since you are the most experienced leadership in community.
Okay. Okay, this is going to be a bit tricky. Most challenging thing you've encountered so far would be, I think most people in Singapore are quite nice, and then they are definitely okay. We're not, the crowd that we get are not as rowdy or in some other places, and we never had a need for code of conduct before. So, but we believe as a conference organizer, I do see the value of what a code of conduct can have, and it provides a channel and avenue for people who feel unsafe to basically target, and there are some actions they can take to figure out what they can do. So because of these things happening overseas, we do try to be wary of it. And even in JunoDev, we do have a code of conduct that we display at the beginning, even saying things that leave a gap for people to hang out, to chat. We're fortunate enough not to have direct problems during our meetups, but we do have situations where some of our members do feel unsafe. In perhaps the women in our groups do feel somehow maybe not harassed, but more like we get unsolicited messages and all that stuff, which is uncalled for. I've had 2 occasions in the past where I had to outright ban people, 2 persons from all our meetups because of some of their behaviors. Not mainly in our meetup, but also in other places where I've seen them. So so you can say they are socially awkward, yes, but after speaking to some of them personally, I do find that some of the behaviors were not really just because they were socially awkward. They were just misbehaving. So we have had situations where we had to ban 2 people. So that's kind of challenging for me as an organizer, because we do want a safe space for people to hang out, and we do see signs sometimes that sometimes we do to see the population of the women in tech that we see them quite often in the past, and suddenly they disappear. We find that quite disturbing. I do personally find it quite disturbing. So I think as an ally to women in tech, we have to play our part in protecting the people who come to our meetup. And so we have to take action. We see it happening, and we do have to take immediate action. Lighter note, there's another group of people that we have in our meetups who we affectionately call them freeloaders. They come just for the food. But we are okay with that. They help us help ensure that we don't have any food waste. So I think we do appreciate their efforts. As long as they're not disruptive. We've had a couple of them, and they kind of like sit through the meetup. For some reason, they do sit through the entire meetup with us. So I do admire their resilience in doing that. But so these are the folks that I find challenging. I think most people who are here to learn, everyone is here to learn, and we want to make sure we have a safe environment for everyone.
Yeah, of course. Saloni, would you like to share your experience, especially from women parts?
Similar to Michael, we also face those instances where we would also then ban if it is alerted to us, or if we see it. We have like a whole code of conduct around it to follow protocol and do the necessary. But recently, we have not really seen much of that, thankfully. For me, the most challenging thing would be to create more awareness for our events, because we have been doing a lot more virtual events. So when pre-pandemic, we used to get a good turnout for our face-to-face in-person events, but our virtual events have been lacking a little bit of the live audience. For sure, we do record and put it up on YouTube. So our YouTube videos do get a lot of views after the event. But it's usually good to have a good amount of audience watching and interacting with the speaker during the Zoom session itself. So that's what we have been trying to combat with, like getting a few more people who are more social media savvy to help with that.
Yes, that's why you have Victoria.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about the time, so we may not able to accomplish all these questions. Let me go back to the slide. So, so the final 5 minutes, I'd like to wrap up. And first, please and help us to complete this survey. Then we will send you the video recording. We really need appreciate your feedback and help us to do better event next time. And we will pick 1 or 2 attendees, then give you the Starbucks adventure. And also you would have the one-on-one meeting with one of our speakers. Okay. And let's talk about the next coming events. So we will have a next event at July 5th, AI-driven work. The speaker will be Yumi. Yumi, would you like to say hello to us since you're online? And she is the staff engineer and also a Woman Who Code member. She will help us for 1-hour workshop, introduce GitHub Copilot and CodeSpace. And then Ted, the founder of Steamship, will join the panel discussion as well as our founder, Bernard. So you can scan the QR code and enroll for this meetup. And we will continue to make more events like today. So if you want to get this notification, please follow us on LinkedIn. So thanks for all these speakers, Michael, Victoria, and Saloni, and Yumi as well, and for all these great experience sharing and answer all these questions. And so you can reach out them on their LinkedIn or Twitter, or just join Women Who Code, Junior Dev, or Alpha Camp.